What is your favorite memory with Charlie?
He was like, man, something, we had a bet and we were playing a game that if we could find somebody in Japan taller than him. Yeah, and so we were all like, we're already like on guard.
Closer, are they like restricting you guys up here or what?
Nah, it's too crowded.
It's just, there's just so much.
Before we had a flag and we had it so it was positioned above the tent so it would be in the camp. It made us move.
What was that? Oh my God! He just got shot! Holy shit! Holy shit!
He sat in the hospital hallway shaking, not because of the gunfire, not because he almost died, but because of what the doctor told him. Something so shocking he couldn't believe it wasn't public. A bullet that didn't behave like a normal bullet. A wound that didn't match the rumors. A timeline that didn't make sense. And a detail so small, you'll wonder how millions missed it. But the most disturbing part? None of it was ever released. And the one person who tried to speak was attacked for even opening his mouth. This is the story they refuse to clarify. And tonight, we uncover the contradictions, the emotional fallout, and the one question no one wants to answer. Before we begin, hit subscribe to join Unraveled Crime, because what you're about to hear will stick with you long after this video ends. The truth is rarely clean. It's messy, it's painful, and sometimes it's hidden behind silence. On the night the world learned Charlie Kirk had been shot,
About mass shootings.
Do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
chaos erupted everywhere. Social media exploded with questions, accusations, and conspiracy theories. People wanted answers. People wanted someone to blame. People wanted certainty. But in tragedies like this, certainty is almost impossible. In the eye of this storm stood one man, Charlie's head of security, Brian Harpool, a man trained to protect, to anticipate danger, to react before anyone else could. But no training could have prepared him for this, for the grief, for the scrutiny, for the lies. Brian never asked to be in the spotlight. He never wanted his grief picked apart online. He never wanted to see the woman he watched suffer, Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife, attacked by people with no evidence, no knowledge, only assumptions. Yet, when he chose to speak publicly for the first time, the world leaned in, and suddenly he was caught in a storm he didn't anticipate. And from that moment, nothing made sense the way it should. Every detail was questioned, every timeline dissected, every reaction analyzed. People whispered theories about politics, security lapses, and hidden agendas. And amidst all of that, one thing remained terrifyingly clear. The story the world was hearing wasn't the full story. This isn't just a story about a shooting. It's a story about truth, trust, and what happens when the world decides to fill in the blanks for you.
You are on the stage with Charlie Kirk as the head of his contracted security detail on September 10th when he was assassinated. You know I'm not a combative interviewer. I do have some tough questions. It's been 2 months since this tragedy, and there are a lot of unanswered questions. People are starving for some answers. I know a lot of people are going to be very interested in what you have to say.
There's so much out there, and there's so much out there that's not true.
You cannot say every one of the pros you're, and I don't say acts that way, but I got
Agreed.
texts about you, Megan.
You know, I've been really quiet about this. It's a real shame, but it just got to be so much that I just did not trust my own eyes, ears, what I was reading, what I was watching. I think a lot of people have sensationalized this.
Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder.
Just grainy surveillance footage, fake text messages, and a transgender furry.
In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period.
The only thing we deal with at the FBI and the Department of Justice is facts.
We delivered at record speed a manhunt to capture Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin in 33 hours.
Did he write a written note before the assassination attempt? That's what the governor said yesterday.
Guys will come up to me and say, where did you get your guys? Where did you get these people? And the only response I've ever been able to make sense is I just tell them that I prayed them in.
What does it take to become a security contractor for integrity?
Once you've made it through those steps and you're on the team, and then you still have to put that kind of effort out, the team gets together and then they authorize them to get the tattoo. And then they get a tattoo, and the brothers in Christ for eternity.
People need to understand that they do not have jurisdiction on the rooftops or the surrounding area. Their only jurisdiction on a campus is Charlie's physical proximity. And they were coordinating with local PD and campus PD to make sure all of those venues. But also ultimately,
we don't have counter snipers. We don't have the Secret Service.
Right.
I ask our guys, are you believers? We have no ties to Israel or Mossad or any other one. We're Americans.
Do you have anybody on your team that you think could be tied to planning assassinations?
We're in each other's business. Where they have the time for it, I wouldn't know.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Charlie Kirk Show.
People that are in the media, come out and say Charlie had very specific concerns about Israel. Is the man that owns the company that's in charge of his security detail, and you are the head guy on his security detail. Did he express any of those concerns to you?
Dan works for Turning Point as their security guy, and so Dan feeds down that to us, to our contracted security, which is us for integrity. And so nothing had ever come from Dan, from Charlie, down to us about that. You got to look at the world we live in, and that's a reality. An organization, whether it be a hate group of any type, could want to hurt anybody.
He's no longer with us and all that. So wait a second, what do you mean? What does with us mean exactly, right? I'm an American.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't look at things, by all means.
Yeah.
We should. I mean, we look at people and press and in history of the United States, how valuable they've been. Don't say you're searching for the truth when you're lying to get it.
They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. He's dead.
You know what I want to know? I want to know when he got on the roof. We're shooters. In that shooting position, 3 meters to the right and 10 meters to the left, there was no shot. And so I want to know when that guy got on the roof. We took that shot before.
Really?
We always do. We sit down in the space and we take the shot and send it back to Charlie so that he can see what he's going to see. Yeah, and that's a routine thing that we do. We've all seen the pictures of the guy when he came on through the staircase. From where we're sitting, where we're standing, we can't see it.
It's a very specific point.
Spot, boom, run to, boom, take the shot. Did you get all that off?
I mean, it had to have been rehearsed to find that. I don't know, at least the Epstein files, maybe there would be a little bit of trust in the institution.
Brother,
unfortunately,
I could go on for a long time about that. It needs to be released. Charlie wanted it released.
Harpool sits across from the interviewer, hands clasped, jaw tight. His eyes are distant, shadowed by memories that refuse to fade. He looks like a man carrying a weight that won't let him sleep. Every movement feels measured, deliberate, as if any sudden gesture might pull him back into that night. He begins with the moment he first heard the doctor speak. The doctor didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't hide behind vague medical language or soft euphemisms. He didn't pause to make it easier to hear. He laid it out clearly, brutally. The bullet entered, hit the vertebrae, exploded, and scattered fragments down to C6. Harpool repeats it almost to himself, as if saying it out loud might make it sink in. Not up, not sideways. Down. He was stunned. Not because of the injury itself. He knew the pain, the shock, the burn, the collapse. He had felt the life drain from him in those moments. He already understood the danger he had been in. What shocked him, what truly shook him, was what came afterward. The information, the truth, the specifics of his injury, none of it was ever released publicly. The world was told a story, but not the reality, and he couldn't understand why. Why would such critical, life-altering details be hidden? Why would the public see a version of events so drastically different from the truth he lived? It wasn't just frustration. It was fear. Fear that the story people believed wasn't just incomplete. It was designed to conceal something far bigger, something dangerous. How are people getting autopsy reports that I can't even access? He shakes his head when he says this part. Not in anger, not even in frustration, but in disbelief. The kind of disbelief that comes when reality starts to feel unreal. Because while he waited for clarity, for answers he thought he was entitled to, the internet did what it always does. It filled the silence with noise. People online began posting what they claimed were autopsy reports. Charts, diagrams, medical breakdowns, supposed leaks from unnamed sources. Every image, every post carried a version of the story, sometimes wildly different from the facts he had been told. Some claimed the bullet had gone sideways. Some said it had gone up. Others had calculations, measurements, technical diagrams, and declarations of certainty. They all sounded convincing to an outsider. But Harpool, Charlie, Kirk's head of security, didn't have access to any of these reports. He couldn't verify a single detail. He couldn't see what everyone online seemed to know. And that's when the question hit him. Heavy and cold, where were people getting these documents from? How did strangers seem to know more about his injury than he did? The answers weren't forthcoming. Nobody replied. Nobody clarified. And the more he asked, the louder the silence became. And in that silence, one truth settled in. Heavy as stone, someone somewhere either didn't know the truth, or worse, didn't want the truth to be known. That realization gnawed at him. If people could claim knowledge, post fact, and convince thousands, what did that mean for the story that was actually being told? What did that mean for him, for anyone trying to understand what really happened that day? It wasn't just misinformation. It was control. And the deeper he dug, the more he realized he was up against something far larger than anyone could have imagined. Harpool never raises his voice when he speaks about Erica. Not once. Not even when the weight of everything he's seen could justify anger. He doesn't have to. You can hear the pain in the pauses, the way he takes a breath, holds it, lets the words land slowly. Every syllable carries memory, carries grief. Because while he was recovering, still shaky from the attack that ended everything, while the TPUSA staff scrambled to make sense of a night that had turned into chaos, a new wave hit the internet. Accusations against Erica Kirk, and not small ones, not fleeting whispers. They were wild, cruel, baseless, relentless. People online claimed she was involved, that she had planned it, that she was hiding something, that she somehow bore responsibility for the bullet that changed their lives forever. But Harpool remembers something they don't. He remembers the sound of her voice after the shooting, the trembling tone, the choked breaths, the words she managed to push out through tears. He says it clearly, without hesitation. I've heard real pain in that woman. You cannot fake that. He didn't have to defend her. No one asked him to. But he chose to, because what he saw behind closed doors was not conspiracy, not manipulation, not cold calculation. It was heartbreak, pure and raw. It was confusion, the kind that settles in your chest and won't let you sleep. It was fear. Fear for the life of the man she loved. Fear of a future she hadn't imagined. And above all, it was the crushing weight of millions of eyes watching her, judging her, while she was still trying to process the trauma of losing her husband. Harpool knows this truth, and he refuses to let the internet stories rewrite it. Harpool speaks with a heaviness that only someone who lived through the aftermath could carry, not because he was the one shot, but because he was right there, watching the chaos unfold, watching his friend and leader collapse, and watching the reality of violence hit harder than any rumor ever could. He remembers the sound, the sudden shift in the air, the panic that rippled across the team in an instant, the way everything narrowed into survival mode, not for himself, but for Charlie. When the bullet struck Charlie's vertebrae, everything changed. The angle, the trajectory, the severity of the injury, the shock that surged through the crowd, and the immediate fear that the worst had just happened. Harpool remembers exactly what the doctor later explained, clearly, clinically, without hesitation. The bullet entered, struck the vertebrae, and sent fragments downward, all the way to C6, not upward, not sideways, down. But none of this was ever released publicly, and because of that silence, the internet filled the gaps with noise, diagrams, leaked autopsy reports, theories that contradicted the medical facts. Harpool heard directly from professionals. While millions debated angles and conspiracies from behind screens, Harpool lived the real moment, the panic, the confusion, the fear of losing someone he was sworn to protect. And he learned something painfully simple. Even when the truth exists, rumor can drown it out. This is where the story takes a turn that even seasoned investigators struggle to explain. Online commentators quickly labeled the shooter as unskilled, inexperienced and untrained, a person who got lucky. But Harpool, Charlie Kirk's security chief, sees something far more calculated. The angle of the bullet was highly precise, not random, not chaotic. It struck in a way that suggests intention, not accident. And that raises a serious question. How does an allegedly untrained shooter deliver a shot that clean? Then there's the logistics. Harpool explains the operational limits the security team faced: jurisdiction issues, restricted access points, and legal boundaries that prevented private security from sweeping rooftops or intervening outside their designated zones. Local police controlled critical areas, leaving unavoidable blind spots. But the question that keeps resurfacing, the one no agency has answered publicly yet, is simple. How did the shooter get the rifle onto the roof in the first place? There's no clear footage, no documented pathway, no official explanation that closes the gap. And it's in these gaps that uncertainty breeds, fueling speculation, magnifying doubt, and making a case that appears straightforward on the surface feel like a puzzle with missing pieces. These unanswered details don't prove a conspiracy, but they do raise uncomfortable questions the public has yet to see fully addressed. When Harpool lays out the timeline, the tension becomes almost physical. Every pause, every shift in his voice carries the weight of details that simply don't fit together cleanly. According to his account, the shooter didn't just appear at a single location and fire impulsively. Harpool traces a sequence of movements, leaving one area, relocating quickly to another, and then another, all without drawing noticeable attention. The transitions were fast and surprisingly quiet. To Harpool, this didn't feel like the erratic path of someone acting in panic. It didn't look chaotic or unfocused. It looked intentional, structured, as if each movement served a purpose. This is what makes professionals stop and analyze. Because when someone moves with such consistency, the pattern itself becomes part of the evidence. It suggests forethought, or at least familiarity with the surroundings. But here's the important distinction. Harpool doesn't claim to know the shooter's skill or background. He simply notes that the timeline, as it stands, doesn't match the public perception of a disorganized, inexperienced attacker. And that discrepancy, the timeline itself, becomes a clue, not proof of a larger plot, not confirmation of planning, but a sign that the surface narrative might be missing context. It raises a question investigators still have to reckon with. Why does the sequence of events appear more structured than expected? It's a line that makes you stop. It lingers. Harpool understands tactical thinking, investigative patterns, and the kinds of details that usually appear when someone tries to stage a scene. If I wanted to frame someone, he says, I'd leave a drop gun, a planted clue, a careless-looking mistake, something that nudges investigators toward an easy, pre-constructed conclusion. But that's not what happened in this case. There were no staged errors, no conveniently placed evidence, no obvious misdirection, nothing that suggests anyone tried to guide the investigation in a particular direction. Instead, what investigators found were gaps, too many of them. Questions without clear answers, witness accounts that contradicted each other, footage that revealed more holes than certainty. And in those gaps, doubt begins to take shape. Not conclusions, just doubt. Even Harpool, who lived through the chaos firsthand, admits that the lack of simple explanations makes the situation harder to understand. The event doesn't fit neatly into the idea of an inexperienced, unpredictable attacker. It feels more complicated than that, more structured, more puzzling. And that's what unsettles professionals the most. Not proof of a cover-up, but the uncomfortable realization that critical pieces of the story are still missing. Despite the whirlwind of rumors, wild theories, and non-stop speculation online, Harpool has always been clear about one thing. He never believed Tupusa had anything to do with the shooting. Not Erica, not Charlie's team, not anyone inside the organization. He saw the chaos up close, the fear in the eyes of staff rushing to secure Charlie, the confusion spreading through a team suddenly forced under a global microscope, the emotional weight they carried behind closed doors, weight the public never saw. He lived through the panic, the trauma, and the hours that felt like days. He knows what it looked like from the inside. But on social media, scattered pieces of information were reshaped into narratives that pointed inward. Innocent actions were reframed as suspicious. Misunderstandings became supposed evidence, and online audiences, eager for a dramatic explanation, turned unanswered questions into accusations. Harpool stayed quiet at the time, not because he doubted the truth, but because speaking too soon would only fuel more confusion. Now he's correcting the record. Because the real story isn't about hidden schemes or internal betrayal. It's about how quickly fear, speculation, and misinformation can distort reality, and how easily the public can mistake trauma for guilt and chaos for conspiracy. One of the most emotional moments comes when Harpool reflects on free speech. He believes in it wholeheartedly. He supports it. He knows it's foundational to any open society. People have the right to question, to debate, to seek answers. He doesn't argue with that. But he also understands the line where expression stops, being harmless and starts causing damage. He has seen what happens when freedom of speech becomes freedom to wound. When people confuse accountability with attack. When curiosity mutates into cruelty. Because while the world was still reeling from the shooting, while Charlie's family was grieving, staff were shaken, and friends were trying to process the shock. Strangers online were turning tragedy into a spectacle. Accusations spread like wildfire. No evidence, no restraint, no awareness of the human beings behind the story. Charts, diagrams, supposed leaks, and baseless conclusions flooded the vacuum. Where verified information had not yet been released, rumors became narratives. Narratives became judgment. And judgment quickly hardened into cruelty. Harpool says something that stops you cold. Freedom comes with responsibility, and some people abuse that responsibility. He isn't talking about disagreement. He isn't talking about fair questions. He's talking about deliberate harm, speculation, shaped in a way that hurts real people. He's talking about how quickly the internet can turn uncertainty into accusation, victims into suspects, and grief into gossip. And he knows the cost. He's lived the fallout. He's felt the consequences. Because this wasn't just a trending topic. It was real pain experienced by real people in one of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. When information is missing, people fill in the blanks. It's human nature. It's instinctive. But in this case, the blanks weren't small, they were massive. They left room for confusion, frustration, and endless speculation. There were no publicly available autopsy details, no official ballistic breakdown, No clear step-by-step timeline. No explanation of how the shooter accessed the rooftop or transported the rifle. No detailed clarification of the security limitations that shaped the response. No public medical summary. No insight into how the shooter prepared, moved, or planned the attack. Each of these gaps became fertile ground for theories. The public did what the public always does. They started building narratives. Some were harmless guesses, some were made out of fear, and some were deeply damaging. Stories that turned victims into suspects or cast innocent people as villains. Stories that spread faster than any official statement could catch up to. Harpool watched all of it unfold. And finally, he voiced the hard truth. If they had released the real information earlier, most of the speculation wouldn't exist. Because that's what silence does. It invites fiction. When truth isn't provided, people invent one. They want answers, even if the answers are incomplete or entirely wrong. They want certainty, even if it hurts the very people living through the aftermath. Harpool saw colleagues, friends, and even strangers pulled into the storm, judged, criticized, or attacked, not because of what they did, but because the information vacuum made room for assumptions. And he understands this clearly. The cost of silence isn't just online noise. It's real. It's human. And it leaves wounds long after the rumors fade. People have no idea what this did to the Kistiomei team. That's what Harpool says. And you can feel the weight behind it. Because while the world argued, debated, and built theories out of fragments, the people inside TPUSA were living through something much heavier. Fear, grief, confusion, anger, guilt, and the trauma of losing their leader in real time. Some staff blamed themselves, replaying moments over and over in their heads. Others questioned every decision they made before the shot, wondering if they could have done more despite the clear legal and logistical limitations they faced. Some broke down under the pressure. Others couldn't sleep for weeks, haunted by the what-ifs and could-have-beens. Every day felt like a reminder of how close the situation came to becoming even worse. None of this appeared in rumors. None of it made it into conspiracy theories. Online, people cared only about the spectacle, the angles, the motives, the theories, but inside the organization, the real damage wasn't physical. It was emotional, personal, psychological. Harpool wants people to understand that trauma doesn't always show up in news reports or trending posts. Sometimes it lives quietly in the people who carried the weight, who stayed up nights worrying, who tried to protect others while the internet pointed fingers. For them, the aftermath didn't fade after headlines shifted. It is real, lasting, and deeply human. Harpool ends his story not with anger, not with resentment, and certainly not with threats. He ends it with clarity. His focus isn't on silencing critics. He isn't trying to prove anyone wrong. He isn't interested in debating theories on social media. He isn't looking for validation or applause. What he wants above all else is truth. Real truth. The kind that isn't twisted by assumptions, distorted by screenshots or amplified for clicks. He wants facts. Facts about the shot. Facts about the shooter. Facts about the timeline. Facts about everything that happened that night. And he wants those facts made available, not for speculation, not for debate, but for understanding. He wants clarity for Charlie, whose life was tragically cut short, for Erica, who endured judgment and scrutiny while processing unimaginable grief, for the TPUSA team, who carried fear, guilt, and trauma in the quiet spaces behind the headlines, and for anyone who has sat like the rest of us, questioning what really happened. Harpool's voice softens, but his message is unwavering. The pain was real. The fear was real. The confusion was real. And the truth deserves to be real, too. It's a plea for honesty in a world that too often rewards spectacle over facts. It's a reminder that the real story isn't always what goes viral. Sometimes it's the quiet call for transparency. And in that call lies the weight of everything we've been missing.
Why do you believe that the security footage has not been released publicly?
Well,
I mean, obviously the FBI is in control of the
and
evidence.
I'm with them on that.
You are?
Absolutely. I'm with them on that. Man, that video footage or or really good video footage is the truth, or as close as we have. And so they came back with that gag order to the council and so they can information share it, because the judge said there's a volume of evidence, right? A voluminous, I think is what he said. And I'm like, okay, because we want to protect his right to a fair trial, and we don't want to taint a potential jury. I'm okay, I get that. But if is there not a balance to that? It's like, I'm not asking you to produce the footage, but maybe give us something that we investigated this claim and then we found this, and make them put their name on that. I'm with them on that. Give us some information. It's like you go to public information officer school to be a cop, and they tell you, hey, don't go out there and go, this happened. We'll let you know when we figure it out. Because then you're just like, well, are you capable? Do you know what you're doing? Are you hiding something from us?
Yeah.
So what do? You go out there, even if you can't release the details of it, you go, hey, this happened. We heard this, and this is attribution that makes us lead to believe that it was a directed crime and not a random crime. And so what you're doing is you're letting people, okay, this is starting to make sense. Well, give us something.
Yeah.
Give us something.
I mean, this just comes from institutions hiding things.
And has it
forever.
happened?
I mean, maybe had they, I don't know, released the Epstein files, maybe there would be a little bit of trust in the institution.
Brother,
unfortunately,
I could go on for
a
long time about that. It needs to be released.
Yeah.
Charlie wanted it released. That's not my opinion.
Yeah.
Watch the videos.
Yeah.
Release them.
Yeah. That wasn't, my point wasn't, I mean, I want them to release them too. My point wasn't getting into it. I'm just saying, like, this is the shit that causes distrust in the institutions.
Of
and
all
it gets worse, and it gets worse, and it gets worse. And if you want to rebuild the fucking trust in the institutions, then you open up transparency and you stop fucking hiding shit from the American people.
100%.
That's how the fuck you do it. This isn't rocket science. This isn't fucking brain surgery. This is just...
And here's my response.
Transparency. That's it.
I've got a team here that are done. And if you had opened that up, at least a little bit, 6, 8, 9 weeks ago, these guys wouldn't have been suffered. We've been doxxed. Our credit cards have been stolen. Our children's and parents' names have been released online. Wedding plans, home addresses, phone numbers. It's like, throw us a bone.
Yeah.
Don't let us sit out here and suffer for you when all you got to do is produce something to quench the thirst of these people. And you're right. You're creating distrust.
Yeah.
And you're hiding behind, well, we have to make sure and ensure that we don't taint a jury for this guy. And I have questions about that too. And so I have questions about that. And we talked about that earlier. Where's his call logs? His phone hits. Who'd he talk to 2 days, 4 days, 8 days beforehand?
Why do you think that they tore up and paved over the crime scene so quickly?
I have had and asked that at least 10 times. And I said, I don't understand the exigency of why they did that. And here's my question to that. March your ass up to the school. Have you march your ass up to the school, or will you march your ass up to that school tomorrow and file a FOIA and say, hey, you're a public institution. I want the request and the plans that were made to tear that up and when those requests and plans happen. Because you're not going to request that, or you shouldn't request that overnight and have that done. That had to probably go through a budget request, had to be approved. There should be a timeline and paperwork for that. Mm-hmm. You should be able to get that through FOIA. And so do it. Make them tell us why that they tore that up before it was even cold. I want to know. Because it came back on us. that we had some trap door and they're covering up the trap door and we had a guy hiding in there.
Okay, that's actually my next question. I didn't hear about there was somebody hiding in the trap door.
A gun was hiding or something.
Heard there was a trap door or something. Was there a trap door in a tunnel system?
No.
There was not.
No. So, school, why'd you tear it up? Why did you tear it up? What was the exigency to tear up something that still people would... Did you not think that through? Like, hey, we might want to put a hold on that. This might induce questions to us. Mm-hmm. And it didn't. Nobody went back and asked questions to the school or said, hey, well, let's do a FOIA and do some back digging on that. That's not protected under this evidentiary gag order. Mm-hmm. Now let's just blame the security team because that's the easy way. Go do the FOIA.
You know, I mean, back to the exit wound thing. You know, I mean, because we're talking about the tearing up of the crime scene and everybody's wanting them to find the bullet. I mean, if the bullet hit any bone at all, there is no bullet. It's just fragmentation.
Great point.
And
that was discussed already.
And if there was no exit wound. In the autopsy, though, there should be, I mean, if there was no exit wound, then there should be fragmentation of the bullet would have fragmented into who knows how many pieces.
The doctor, and again, this is not a non-disclosure violation, but the doctor came out there and told us. And then they also told chief of staff. So the bullet came in and hit the vertebra. So it came in and then tore up everything in the wound cavity, hit the vertebra, crushed it, shattered it, turned, crushed the second one, turned, kept going down all the way, I think they said C6.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like, why not put that info out? Why not put it out? And then...
Why wouldn't they put that out?
And if do me a favor, don't make me do it. It's not my job. And so then it got to here, and you're exactly right. And then hit, I think, 6, and then fragged. And so explanation 101. What are you hiding? Yeah. It's like I'm sitting back here when people are saying we bombed him or there's a wound. I'm like, hey, if somebody would, from an official capacity, would just release that. And I don't see how that could jeopardize a fair trial for a guy. And or somebody call the doctor. Somebody just call him.
This guy, George Zen. Are you familiar with this guy?
Is he the one that said...
He is the performance immediately after the shooting. I believe he was saying that he had the shooter. He's also a witness to 9/11, called to the bomb threat in Salt Lake City marathon. I mean, he seems to show up at a lot of historic
incidents, right? And then gets arrested, and then later gets arrested for child porn after that. And so that was a weird deal because that came to us at the hospital. Hey, they have somebody in custody, and I'm like, awesome. And then our guys helped hold that perimeter area while they were arresting him. And I want to say they held on to some gear or something. I'd have to double check with them, but they were there assisting the police for that because they're still in there and holding the crime scene. Yeah, and so how did this guy get there? And they did the search warrant on his house, and they released it. It's like, hey, dump his phone and release that too. Mm-hmm. Dump the tower information and release that too. I want to see who he was talking to 2, 3, 4, 5 days beforehand. Mm-hmm. I want to see what towers hit. Yeah, I want to see that. Yeah, I want to know who is this guy and why is he around
all these things.
All these things.
What questions do you have?
You know,
you had some good questions about Robinson.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know who this kid is. I don't want to know that he was had a something that feeds a narrative of hate and division, that he was his boyfriend was trans or whatever, and that they had text back and forth. I want to know, it's like, all right, where did he work? And then who were his coworkers, and did they interview his coworkers? And then I want to see his phone logs and the towers that it hit. I want to interview his friends, and did he have any help? They said, oh, well, we have DNA on the rifle, and I want all that information. That's a good tie, right? Now, from a judicial standpoint, I can understand why they're saying, we don't want to put all this information out because the judge said it may taint a potential jury because they're going to seek the death penalty. And I'm like, from a book standpoint, I understand that. But you got a lot of people out there wondering, hey, did this guy do it by himself? And then you throw my wonder on there. It's like, wow, so he just, the rooftop was clear, and then he jumped up on it, acquired a shooting position, took the shot. That shooting position was a loophole. If it had been 5 meters this way or what, this way, it wouldn't have happened. And then can we go through his phone or his computer and find a Google Earth overhead that he was looking at it days, weeks, months before? Did he access that before? Because obviously it's a problem, because that's how we came upon the information, that it's easily accessed, and how we gave it to the chief to say, hey, chief, you got this, right? I got you covered. So that's information we need to know. I want to know about this kid. I want to know if somebody helped him. Is he a patsy? Is he, was there a group of people?
What's a patsy?
Is he taking the blame for other people? Mm-hmm. Or is he part, is he a lone wolf? But then we all thought Timothy McVeigh was a lone wolf too, right? Mm-hmm. And then we come to find out, people knew about it. He had assistance. Even if it was assistance of, we knew you were going to do something, and then we didn't say something. So, yeah, I have questions to him. I have questions, and this is horrible because I'm a father. I have questions to his father.
Aren't they saying that he took the rifle apart with a flathead screwdriver?
That's a big one I want to know. And it's like, I know there's footage out there, and I don't know what to believe and how it got down. It's like, all right, how did I want to know that. How did the rifle get from the roof to where they found it? That's a big one. How did the rifle get from the shooting position all the way back across to where they found it?
And then it was reassembled when they found it, correct?
I don't think that it ever was disassembled, because even an AR platform, think about it.
You know what I mean?
Pin, break,
yeah,
pull. It's going to take a bit. That's a bolt gun.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Is
it's not going to happen.
I probably should have been a little bit more descriptive about that.
So I want to know about that.
Non-shooters.
Yeah, and and there's other things.
Enthusiasts.
Yeah. I look at that and I look at a lot of things that are going on at Turning Point, and because I saw, I've seen people say that Erica was involved in it, his wife. I've done a lot of death notifications where I had to tell kids that their parents were dead, or their parents that their kids were dead. And I know what pain looks and sounds like. I wake up screaming sometimes, thinking of kids. The words that came out of her mouth and how they came out when she walked in that room and saw him, you don't want to hear that. She's a victim. That's her husband. And now people without any proof are saying that she was a part of killing him. Come on, man. And then not having anything to substantiate it with. That's what makes me lose faith in people, and that we allow it. and that platforms allow it. It's like it goes against everything that we are. And if we're going to allow that, what else are we going to allow? You hear that kind of pain come from somebody and see it. And I could only imagine the pain she's feeling now by happening to hear that people say that she was a part of it. Those are lies. And so we have that organization. It's got this huge power vacuum going on now, and I'm sure it's affecting it. It's affected me. And so that's an organization with a lot of great people in it, doing good things, you know. And so where do we draw the line to people making allegations of bad behavior? It's a huge question. I mean, could you imagine? Think of this for a second. You've lost friends. And could you imagine somebody reporting that one of your friends, his wife, was responsible for their death? What would you want to do to him?
Yeah.
And it's like, man, we're better than this. We should be better than this. And we're not. And people are bitching about the leaders we have. And I was like, hey, we get the leaders we deserve.
It's a good point.
And we don't deserve very much right now. On each side. On each side. Both sides. We get the leaders we deserve. If we want to hold them accountable, we should hold ourselves accountable also.
Yeah. Are there any other questions you have?
No. I just, I appreciate you. You let me come on. Or when I got that phone call, I was like, wow. I mean, I've seen the people that have come here, and Don Graves, he sat here, right? That's Eddie Penny, Ben Carson. It's like, man, I don't deserve this. So.
It's a lot of humility in this room, man.
Should be. Thankful for that.
You deserve to be here just like everybody else.
Thanks.
God bless you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you believe the truth matters, not just the story the world is fed, but the reality behind it, then this is the place for you. If you believe real stories deserve real clarity, not rumors or assumptions, then join us on this journey. Every like you give supports this work. Every subscription keeps you at the forefront of uncovering hidden details and unanswered questions. Turn on notifications so you're the first to dive into the next story, the next investigation, the next layer of truth. And most importantly, drop a comment below. Tell us, what do you think is the biggest unanswered question in this case? Which detail keeps you awake at night? This is Unraveled Crime, where we follow the truth, piece by piece, even when it leads into darkness. Stay with us, because the story is far from over.